Before I do anything with crypto, there's one habit I've picked up over the last few months. I always check what's still connected to it. Didn't used to. I'd jump into protocol, approve contract, make swap, maybe provide liquidity, close the tab, and never think about that interaction again. But blockchain doesn't forget those permissions just because I stop using the platform. They stay there until somebody removes them, and after spending enough time in DeFi, approvals start adding up way faster than most realize. One protocol turns into 10, 10 eventually turns into dozens. At that point, there's no chance I'm remembering every contract I've ever approved. Every now and then, I'd come across another story where someone lost their crypto, and the wallet itself wasn't the problem. There wasn't a leaked recovery phrase or anything like that. It usually came down to old contract that still had permission long after the owner forgot it even existed. Sometimes the project disappeared, sometimes the contract was compromised later, sometimes it turned out the platform was never trustworthy to begin with. Either way, that forgotten connection became the weak point.
So instead of hoping every old approval is harmless, I'd rather check them before they have a chance to become an issue. That's exactly what I'm going to do here. It works with MetaMask, Trust Wallet, Phantom, and pretty much any wallet using EVM networks or Tron. I looked into a few different tools, compared how they worked, used AI to help filter the options, and eventually ended up here. And after trying it myself, this one just made the most sense. It scans wallets, builds a complete list of active contract permissions, points at anything that deserves attention, and lets me remove approvals I don't need anymore without having to investigate everything manually. Since then, I've run it on several wallets, and it's become part of my regular maintenance routine. So let's go through it. First, I'm connecting the wallet.
Scans finished, and here's everything that's currently authorized. Few contracts are already marked with elevated risks, so those are the first ones I'm looking at. So now, technically, I could inspect every entry one by one, but looking through this list, I honestly don't recognize some of these anymore. And if I can't immediately remember why a contract still has permission to interact with my wallet, I don't really see a reason to keep it. So instead of leaving those approvals active, I'm just going to revoke the ones that no longer belong here. Good. Now those old permissions are gone, my wallet looks a lot cleaner, and I don't have forgotten contracts sitting in the background with access they no longer need. So that's really why I like doing this every so often. Not because I expect something to happen tomorrow, just because I don't want months of old approvals quietly building up until one of them eventually becomes a problem. Spending a couple of minutes reviewing my wallet feels like a much better trade-off than discovering later that a contract I stopped using a year ago still had unnecessary permissions.
So that's everything I wanted to show. Hopefully seeing the entire process made it clear how straightforward it actually is. If there's anything I didn't cover or any questions come up afterward, leave a comment and I'll take a look. As for me, this scanner has become one of those tools I open on a regular basis. Quick scan, quick cleanup, and I'm done. Once unnecessary permissions are removed, I don't have to keep wondering whether some forgotten smart contract is still hanging on to access it shouldn't have. That gives me a lot more confidence every time I use this wallet.